Yep. So, hi guys, good evening. So here we have Arjun with us. So I'll just give a quick intro and then we'll have Arjun take over the session. So, so Arjun is the founding general partner at Special Invest, so which is a deep tech startup, early stage investing firm, and they invest in startups in India, USA, and Israel. And he has also previously worked as an entrepreneur in his own venture named Travel Yatri, and has had experience in Yahoo and IBBO as well. So he's a great experienced guy in this field and is currently investing in startups. So is well versed with every sector you could imagine in the startup world. So I think we'll make it a bit interactive and we'll have the question answer session at the end, and we'll have Arjun share his experiences with his insights in the start of the session. And I think I'll ask everyone to leave their questions in the chat box or either in the question box, and then we'll collectively answer them, get them answered by Arjun at the end. So I'll hand over to Arjun now. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much, Saksham, for the kind introduction, right? And for the invitation to the ESL also. Thank you so much for having me, right? I'm super excited to be part of this conversation with all of you, right? And share some of my observations and learnings over the years, right? As Saksham mentioned, I'm one of the founding partners at Special Invest. We're an early stage VC investing in deep science and technology startups at the very, very early stage. All right. In my own experience over more than 15 years has been in product technology startups, including my own startup, which is called Travelari, right? And today I'll share some of my learnings with all of you based on all those experiences, which is about the early stage of product building at a startup, and also how one in the early stages can think about customer access and customer, right? I have a few slides to assist me, but I would like it to be an open-ended, open discussion, right? And I will drive and maybe share some insights along the way. These are by no means exhaustive or complete or all correct, but these are my observations and my learnings. Hopefully it is valuable for all of you, young budding entrepreneurs out there, right? So super excited. I'll just share my screen and we will get started. Give me a second, please.
So Arjun would like to just interrupt you for a second. So if anyone has any doubt in between, he could raise hand and we'll probably pass him the mic to ask the question. So that is the procedure
Absolutely.
that goes on AirMeet. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Please, you will have to help me guide through AirMeet. I've not used it regularly. So
Yeah. Sure.
please let me know, right? I'll be happy to answer. Yeah. So super excited. I'm going to get started, right? So we're going to talk about, early stage product building and customer acquisition when a startup is just getting started, right? This is an interesting stage. The founder has come up with an idea, right? And thought there's an opportunity in a particular industry, in a particular market, right? To solve a particular problem with customers, and is ready to go out and build a solution and take it from there to build a business, right? And that's what makes this early stage exciting, when you're exploring a lot of things, when you're validating a bunch of hypotheses, right? And taking that forward to building out a successful startup, right? Thank you so much for having me. We'll get started. One of the key things that I've noticed that I would like to start off with is, what do you do before you start building, right? What happens during the time that you have the idea, you have maybe spoken to a few people, and you have taken the plunge to start the company, right? And this phase is very, very important to spend time and be very cautious about where you spend your time in and what you're trying to learn in this very early stage. So before you start building, I believe and before one starts writing a piece of code in the software company or starts building a hardware product, as the case might be, right? I think there is a few things that are important to spend time on, right? All of us and most of us are engineers. I was also an engineer when I started a company. So, we're all excited about starting to build a product. Let's start coding. Let's put the first version of the product out there, so on and so forth. Let's start coding, right? These are some of the first things that we think about. But I think it's very important to be a little more thoughtful before that stage and say, before I start coding, let me learn a little more about what I'm going to code for, right? That's what we start talking about. Figure out who the prospective customer is, right? When you're building product and for customer acquisition, keeping the customer view is very, very important, and understanding and learning as much as possible about the customer is very important in the super early stage. So I would say, right, once you're starting off, start talking to as many people as possible in the prospective customer segment that you are operating in, right? And go and have conversations with them, right? Try to clarify your view on who is this product for, right? On the product side, who is this product for? What is their behavior? What problem are you solving for this person or this set of people or for this business if it's a B2B business? Why is it so badly needed in the current environment, whatever you are building, right? What else are they using today to solve the same problem? Are they using something else that you are trying to make better, or they don't have a solution for this particular problem and therefore you are providing a solution to them, right? So identifying who the customer is, who it is for, why they need it, and which problem you are solving for them is very, very crucial, right? And finally, after understanding all of this and having multiple conversations, and conversations should unraveling what do they do in their everyday process, right? Which part of your assessment of the problem is clear to them, right? How big a problem is it? Is it a small problem that they're able to deal with and it's a nice to have what your solution is, or is it a must have? It is among the top 3 problems that they're facing, right? These are conversations one should have, right? And finally, from there, you can evolve into how can this problem be solved, which is the first step in figuring out what product you have to build, right? So don't start building out on day 1, day 0, or day 1. Start trying to find out what you have to build before you start writing that first piece of code, right? The second thing which we are going to talk about going forward is also about customer acquisition. Even in that scenario, what you need to know is who's your customer, right? What is this personality of this customer, individual customer or this business, right? Until you know that, you will not know how to reach them, how to contact them, how to talk to them, which is marketing, and therefore how to acquire them as customers for your product. You need to know who is the customer, what is their persona, right? Conversations and customer development is what we call in our industry is very, very crucial in the very early stages before you start building. Right? We'll talk about building the product itself. While we are talking about having conversations with customers and learning more about their behavior and what they need precisely, that is the time when you start, before you start building, you first say, okay, I have a broad view of how this product will look like and what it will do, right? So you can articulate this through mockups and wireframes in the very early stages, right? Again, this is pre-starting to code in a software context, right? So wireframes are one very specific way where you can start articulating and presenting to somebody saying, this is the product I'm building. This is how these are the features of the product it will have. This is how it will function. And this is how you will get value out of it, right? So mockups and wireframes is super early stage for validation of your own assumptions and your own hypothesis, right? So do that. This is a cheap way of learning a lot, right? Without spending money and time, right? You can learn a lot by creating a few wireframes and mockups and going to the end customer and showing this to them and validating what your assumptions and your beliefs about their problems and the solution you are proposing to the customer, right? Get feedback from this target audience on your wireframes and mockups. Are they understanding what you are presenting to them? Is it clear to them how this can solve the problem? Which part are they reacting to? Are they giving you suggestions to improve the wireframes and mockups? Is a very important time to spend. I would say this can last from a few days to a few weeks in the very early stage, right? Of depending on what type of product and what type of market you are solving for, right? For you to get this feedback and iterate over it. This is very important to listen and iterate, right? So you're listening to the customer, reacting to what you are showing them in terms of mockups and wireframes. And then you can iterate on these mockups and wireframes until you hear some degree of confidence from these early customer base that you are talking to, right? This customer base will not be very large, right? This could be in the B2B scenario, it is 1 or 2 customers. In the B2C scenario, it could be a set of 5, 10, 20 customers, who are typically known to you, and they may be your close network of sorts. And we'll talk about this in the customer acquisition phase as well. So small set of people that you can trust, and that will give you feedback who you can take, and they will give you time, which is very important, right? And you can showcase mockups and wireframes. There's a time, importantly, to listen and iterate, in my opinion, because you learn a lot through these conversations in the early stage. Once you have learned enough and you think your mockups and wireframes are quite solidified, there is enough clarity of what you have to build out, right? I would say is the time to make those mockups into a functional version of the product, right? And you could call this an early prototype, right? You could call this an alpha version of the product, right? There are various ways of addressing this. That is the time you start coding and actually start building alpha version, right? And you want to convert your mockups and wireframes into something that is functional and something that can be used, tried, and tested, right? Build the basic workflow of the product, right? Don't try to build many features. You don't have to perfectly. It doesn't have to be the UI does search. You could get a bunch of search results of bus operators. You could select a seat, and you could say buy the ticket, right? So that's an alpha version. You go through the few steps, right? That's an example of what is a basic functional product, right? So that somewhere will get out of this product.